So class 8, as you know that we have started this interesting chapter, Comet 1, in which Dutatta has, you can say, discovered a new planet, you can say comet. Okay, and it was of course a surprising fact for all the scientists. But what happened? What happened that he was, you can say, there was some problem related with that comet, and ultimately in King's College, Cambridge, there is a note came for Dr. Fawcett. Okay, this is Dr. Fawcett. And ultimately in this note, it was written that he has to see the main headquarters tonight. By all means, all the arrangements has been made. And by whom this letter was? This letter was by Defense Science Advisor, okay, from government. Right now, next here we are going to start. Now, a bowler hatted man, bowler means round hat he was wearing, man, near the mantelpiece. Okay, mantelpiece, what it is? Mantelpiece. What is mantelpiece? It is a shelf above a fireplace. Okay, you know that on fireplace there is a shelf. This is called as mantelpiece. Okay, near the mantelpiece greeted him as James entered his sitting room. So now a man who called him as James, he entered the sitting room. I'm Johnson, sir, secretary officer at Whitehall. So he told that who is he? Underline it. He is security officer at Whitehall. He showed his identity card and continued. I presume means I assume that you know why I am here, sir. Now he said you must be knowing at this time that why I have come here. To the extent that is conveyed in this note, James replied, I knew that it would be useless to ask Johnson for further details. I won't take long. So now James means the person who was invited. He said, yes, I know why I have come here. I know only that much as it was written in the note. So now this man who has been invited there, he thought that it is not wise to ask this man, security officer, that what are the reasons for calling him here. So Johnson's Ford Cortina brought them to Whitehall in less than 90 minutes. It took them another 10 minutes to reach the chambers of Sir John Macpherson. So now Johnson Ford, he has taken him here, he has brought him here in less than 90 minutes, and 10 minutes they took in order to reach the main office of Sir John Macpherson. So having introduced James to Sir John, the quiet but efficient Johnson slipped out. So what happened when James met Sir John, Johnson, who was the security officer, he immediately left that place. Dr. Fawcett means the complete name of the person who was invited was James Fawcett. So he said, Dr. Fawcett, my apologies for this imposition. Okay, my apologies for this imposition. What is imposition? Imposition is unfair demand. What is imposition? Imposition means unfair demand. He said, sir, I really apologize for this unfair demand. Now, what was that unfair demand? The unfair demand was that he was called at this hour and on a very short notice. Sir John advanced with outstretched hands. To avoid any further delay, I'll come to the point right away. Sir John handed him a typescript. So Sir John, who was very wise, he said, now, I don't think so that we will miss much time. And then what happened? He has handed him over a note or a page on which some typescript was there. Why? It is my paper to nature. How did you get this original manuscript? James was surprised and somewhat uneasy. Now he said, this typescript, what was it? He said, it is originally my paper. My paper means, what is that paper? Here paper refers to not a simple page or paper on which some information was written, but actually when you can say when scientists or other you can say researchers, they research any topic, what did they do? Then they write their observations. There you can say observations, as well as there you can say their researches in the form of paper. This is called paper. He said, this is my paper to nature. Means nature is the name of journal in which it was published. He said, this is the original manuscript. From where have you found it? Sir John saw his anxiety, and the man was really not happy that someone else has found his original manuscript. Now, right? Now, actually, yes, what is manuscript? Okay. Manuscript is paper or book. Manuscript is paper or book which is not yet published. Which is not yet published. Which is not yet published. It is paper or book which is not yet published. So, he said, I had asked Sir John, saw his anxiety and continued. Taylor, the editor of Nature, is a friend of mine. He said, actually, he came to know that the man is getting excited. Now he said, actually, who is the editor of this, you can say, journal or magazine Nature is Mr. Taylor. He said, he is my friend. From him, I have got this manuscript. I had asked Nature to publish it without delay since it is very important. James looked puzzled. He said, I told Nature, stop delaying this paper. Immediately publish it because it is very important. James was surprised. What happened with that paper? I agree that it is important. So important, in fact, that it must never be published. That is, if what you say is correct. Sir John lit his pipe. Now, what Sir John said, yes, I know that it is important, but thing is that it should not be delayed. So he lit his pipe, means the cigar he was holding in his mouth, so he lit it. James would never have tolerated aspersions on the accuracy of his work. What is aspersions means? Harsh remarks. Aspersions, very good word. These are harsh remarks. He said, but on my work, nobody is having the right to make, you can say, these kind of harsh remarks. So what he said is that no one should do that. So, or the implied order that it must be suppressed. Or finally, the thing is that this paper must be suppressed, but why? But he knew Sir John to be a respected scientist and was willing to hear him out. But he knew that Sir John is, of course, a respected scientist and he will definitely hear the reasons from him. Please do not misunderstand me, Dr. Forsyth. I met Taylor today at lunch in the club, where he showed me your paper. I still retain enough interest in astronomy, and he asked for my opinion before sending it to a professional referee. Referee means to a reference, okay? So that he can see whatever is written is right or wrong. I immediately realized that your result has profound implications, okay? Profound means deep. Profound means deep. Implications means results or effects. Implications, results, effects. So he said, actually, today at lunch, I met Mr. Taylor. He was sitting with me. So he has shown me your paper. He was asking my opinion that what do you think of this paper? He said, still, I have good interest in astronomy. So finally, he said, when I read your paper, I come to know that it will have very deep impacts. Now, if it is correct, means if your paper is right, then it will have very deep impacts. Now let me assure you, Sir John, that it is correct. I stake my reputation on it. Stake means, for example, I have given everything to prove it. Okay? जैसे हम कहते हैं ना दाव पे लगा देना, right? Like that. So he said, yes, sir, whatever is written here is absolutely right. And I have given my complete reputation to this point. James could not contain himself anymore. He was not able to stop himself from speaking. Do you realize what will happen if comet Datta collides with the earth as you predict it will? So what was written in the paper? This is the thing. Okay, what was written that comet Datta will collide with the earth, and he said, you know what you have written? That according to your calculations, comet Datta will collide with earth on so and so date. And you know what kind of results it will have if it will collide with earth? The effects will be catastrophic, means complete destruction. He said, yes, the results will be catastrophic. There will be large amount of destruction on this earth. That is why I have taken extra care to verify my calculations. He said, this is the reason why I have done all the calculations very carefully. Barring rare circumstances, the collision is inevitable. Now, there are some cases where we can think that there are less collision or collision will not take place. He said, I have omitted all those possibilities, chances, but collision is inevitable. Inevitable means unavoidable. What is inevitable? Inevitable is unavoidable. It is inevitable. That means it is unavoidable. James was confident. Yes, James was really confident. But Sir John picked out the one qualifying phrase. What are those rare circumstances? But Sir John wanted to know everything. He said, which rare circumstances you think that when collision will not take place? Well, it might collide with some asteroid before reaching here, or it might just split up when near the sun, or it might evaporate. He said, according to me, three things can happen. Before coming to earth, it will collide with some other asteroid, okay, when it is reaching to earth, or it may split up when it is coming near the sun, or it might happen that all the gases, or it will evaporate. Now, but one cannot count on these fortuitous circumstances. Fortuitous means by chance, okay, by chance. So he said, but we cannot rely on these by chance circumstances, because in science there is no, you can say, place for assumption कि ऐसा हो सकता है. We can't, because everything is well weighed and judged by experiment. He said we can't rely on these fortuitous circumstances. We have to proceed on the assumption that comet Datta will collide with the earth, and cometary collisions are expected to occur once in 10 million years. He said, but we cannot forget this point that comet Datta is not going to collide with earth, and these type of collisions, they take place once in 10 million years. But now we know that next one will occur in a year. So now, but the thing is that now this time we know that this type of collision will take place in a year. Now, 10 months to be precise, interjected James. Interjected means he said in between, interrupting him. He said, yes, 10 months to be precise. If I say not 1 year we have, but we have only 10 months. It is going to be really very difficult how to face this. Thank you for the correction. Yes, he said, thank you. You have corrected me. Do you realize that we have only 10 months of survival left for the entire living species on the earth? Don't you think we have to do something to stop all this? No, Dr. Johnson said, don't you feel that we have only 10 months to live on this earth? After that, if comet will collide with earth, the entire race of human beings will finish from this earth, will vanish from this earth. And he said, and I think we have to do something to stop all this. A fleeting smile crossed James' face. Fleeting means the moment it comes, it stopped. Moving smile. Fleeting smile came across James' face. He said, just like a civil servant, as if we are facing here a minor breakdown of law and order. And aloud he said, how may I ask, can we prevent this natural catastrophe? So he laughed. He said, you are just speaking like there is some law broken and now we have to make it correct. He said, it is not possible. First of all, he said, tell me that how we can stop this natural disaster, natural catastrophe. I don't know, but we have no option but to try. He said, I don't know, but we have no option. We should try. I think we need more than two brains to handle this situation. He said, actually, I think that we need more than two brains. Two brains we need. It is essential to call an urgent meeting of experts from all over the world to think of a countermeasure. Countermeasure means to control this. Okay? And of course, in total secrecy, he said, I think that we should call all the intelligent persons from all over the world to think of this problem, but this step is to be taken in complete secrecy. Think of the panic in the world if this dreadful news leaks out. Now he said, see, if this news will leak out, what effect, what kind of panic will be created in the world? Sir Johnson glanced at the manuscript in James' hands. Yes, my suppressing this paper will not hide the truth, Sir John. Now, James said, sir, if this paper will not be published, they were saying not to publish this paper. Okay, because people will come to know that this kind of collision is going to take place after 10 months. He said, if you stop publishing of this paper, this will not stop the collision. There are others who will arrive at the same conclusion sooner or later. So he said, sir, actually, there are other people also who are making these kind of calculations, and sooner or later, they will also come to this kind of conclusion. Yes. No, do not suppress it, but tone it down, and many ifs and buts to make your conclusion appear not so certain. He said, no, I'm not saying suppress it. Make some changes. Add many but agar aisa ho gaya to, if this happen, so people will not come to know that it is sure to happen. I will exert all my influence with friends in other countries to make them exercise a similar restraint for a while. He said, I will make all the use of my power in other countries also that this news should not be out. For how long? He said, you are suppressing this news, but for how long? Until this wretched comet is safely out of the way. He said, I'll try. People should not come to know till this comet change its way. Let us spend some time now to plan the details of this international conference. Shall we call it in a week's time here? He said, no, I think that we will organize a conference within a week and let us make some plans over it. A week to plan such an important secret conference of international experts. James thought it is an impossible task, but Sir John disagreed and began to spell out details. So James Fawcett thought that it is not at all possible to call international conference, and which is a secret one, at such a short notice. He said, no, it's not possible. But finally, Sir Johnson was firm in his decision. He started speaking out the details. So very, very interesting chapter. It is increasing my curiosity. What will happen? Yours also? Yours also? Yes, very good. Okay. So after this, we will continue in the next class. But first of all, we will do question answers of this chapter, and that we will do in the next class.